Hello and welcome to another. You didn't give me a countdown, Rob. Hello and welcome to another episode of Euro 2020 Happy Hour Last Orders, and we're live.
You got there in the end.
I got there in the end. With myself, Sham, otherwise known as FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup.
And myself, Rob, otherwise known as FPL Panda.
Rob,
you can't have like a million retakes like we did in a couple of the preview streams on the live stream.
No, I can't. We've had some tech issues, so for those that are waiting on YouTube, thank you very much for waiting, and apologies. Rob fucked up, so it was a combination of Rob and one of our guests.
We won't name anyone.
We won't name anyone. Right, we've got two cracking guests on for tonight, and I'll introduce them to you. So first of all, we have the wonderful Lama from @the FPL Game Week. And a familiar face, James, our Italian rep. Welcome, boys. How are you?
All good, pal. Glad to be here. How's you keeping?
Good. James, how are you?
Yeah, everyone's favourite sub. May as well call me Jack Grealish. Good. That's it, everyone.
It's good to have you on, mate, especially before Italy play. So you'll give some great insight for tomorrow's games. Before we start, boys, do you want to introduce yourselves? Lama, go with you first. Introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. So I am Stevie, but most people know me as Lama over in the Twitter sphere. We created our own channel about a year or so ago, and one of the most popular kind of episodes on that's Ask the Manager, which is how I got to know you two lovely looking chaps.
Yep.
So we've been doing that since about game week 6 of the FPL season of last year, and it's going great, loving it, enjoying it. So that's where we are, the FPL game week.
Nice. And what stadium are you at right now?
Well, as you can tell by the silence, I've just came off the back of reporting at the Spanish game.
Nice.
So you thought you boys were booing last night. You should have heard this 10-15 minutes ago.
We couldn't because of the tech issues.
It shows you how bad a game it is. I'm actually been sat with my back turned to it the whole 90 minutes.
Right, James, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Obviously, I was the Italy rep for one of the previews. You can find me over on Twitter. Not a big following over there. Just talk all things fantasy football. Just a bit of a sad ass around football, really, but wouldn't have it any other way.
Nice. And James, I can vouch for his Italian knowledge. He is a big lover of the Italian league and knows a shitload about Italy as a nation and the players. For those that listened to the preview podcast will know that. So thanks for coming, especially last minute. Appreciate that.
No worries.
Okay, so agenda for tonight is we are going to preview match day 3, and we'll cover some of the games over the last few days during the preview. We're then going to have Panda's picture section, as we've now called it. We'll then show our teams for match day 3 and then do a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please leave them till the end. About 5 minutes before we're ready for a Q&A, I'll ask you to ask your questions and then just fire them through. Right, so let's start off with the preview for match day 3, and we'll start with Group A. And let's go with the Italy-Wales game. So, James, I imagine this preview is going to be a little bit longer because I'd like you to talk to us about what you think about Italy so far in these last couple of games. Being the Italian rep, you have a lot more knowledge than us. What you expected, what you got, and then maybe talk about the Italy-Wales game and what team you think is going to turn up.
I'd like to first say that Panda's picture sounds like something we shouldn't be doing on this website, but that might be a different issue. Let's talk about Italy. Obviously, 2 games played, 2 3-0 victories. I'd say of all the big teams, I think they're the only one that's really blotch mark free so far from 2 games. We've seen France drop points, England drop points. I think Belgium looked a little bit shaky against Denmark. Netherlands looked a bit shaky against Ukraine. So I kind of came on the preview podcast with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of optimism about Italy, and I was a little bit worried that I'd put my foot in the proverbial. But we seem to have turned up, and I think you couldn't really ask for a lot more. I think they were saying before the first game against Turkey, Italy had never scored more than 2 goals in a Euros game, and we've scored 3 in 2 games back to back now. So I look at the Wales game as hopefully another 3 points through the group with 9, easy first place, and gives us an easier draw going forward. But I think Wales will be buoyed off their result from last week, and I think looking at the teams in the group now, Wales probably will be the sternest test so far. I think we've all been surprised how poor Turkey have been, and Switzerland have been disappointing. I think they're a better team than what they've shown so far, and I think there will be some rotation in that Italian team from what I'm hearing. Obviously, we get to see the team sheets at 5 o'clock before the deadline, fantasy-wise, so that should cover a lot of managers. But from what I'm hearing, I think it'll be a 50-50 team of starters compared to reserves that maybe haven't played so much so far.
So what players do you think, obviously, I guess your prediction, what players do you think will drop out and who do you think will come in to replace them?
I think we saw Chiellini pull up with what I've been told was just a bit of a tweak in his hamstring. He was pretty jumpy on the touchline after Locatelli scored 2, so he obviously isn't too bad from the last game. So I think Acerbi will come in and stay in that position for me. Mancini spoke in his press conference today that about Marco Verratti and getting him back to fitness, and he talked about him playing 45 minutes and then seeing how he was from there, which tells me that he's going to start. I'm not sure which one of that middle 3 midfielders you drop after Locatelli's just scored 2 goals. I think that would be a harsh decision to drop Locatelli. You know, the lad wasn't in many people's teams if the Euros had been played last year, and I think that's probably one of the standout performances of the tournament so far last week. And then I think you'll see one of the wingers be changed. I think it will be Berardi may get changed out for Chiesa, or it could be Insigne. And I think he may also rest Immobile and play Belotti. So I think there's 4 changes there that are fairly certain, and I could see maybe a 5th with another midfielder coming into that 3. But as I said, I could be proved wrong. It could be a full 11 or it could be a completely changed 11, but I would think it'll be a split halfway.
And just before I go to the other chaps, what 3 assets, if you were, do you think we should be looking at 3 assets for this game? And if so, who should we be looking at from your opinion?
I think if we're looking at it as a fantasy perspective, I think everyone this week is very much worried about rotation and getting players that actually are going to play 90 minutes or a good part of the game in their team. And I think the fact that Italy, 1, are in good form, 2, it should still be an easy enough game for them, and 3, we are going to see the team sheets at the start, and that means you can guarantee yourself 3 starters. I think everyone should be at least looking to go for 2 Italy players, and I myself will be backing 3 for this game.
And which ones?
At the moment, I'm sticking with Spinazzola in defence. I will probably take one of the wingers, depending on when that team sheet comes out. I am hoping Chiesa gets in because I will back him, and then it will either be Donnarumma in goal or if Immobile starts over Belotti again. I may back Immobile after that goal last week from outside the box because that was an extra point in fantasy, and no one can complain about that.
Right, yeah. Thanks for that, James. Lama, any additional thoughts? What do you think about Italy?
Well, you guys will need to keep me posted because, as you know, I'm not playing the game like Euro Fantasy. But if you, James, are talking there about putting in, like, I know he's like a wing back or whatever, but essentially a defender and a goalkeeper when you've got the likes of playing up against Bale, is that still classed as being risky in the Euros as it would be in FPL normally?
My policy with this Euros is it's only been 3 games and it's only going to be a maximum games of 7 or 8. So for me, You're looking to try and play as aggressive as possible. I think.
Got you.
From watching game 1, I think Spinazzola had the second most touches in Turkey's box as a wing back, and he's returned both weeks. I think you can't really count the threat of Bale by not playing a defender and pushing men further forward in that Italy fantasy lineup for me.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Italy have looked brilliant, over the first couple of games. But Wales aren't that bad, James. So if there's an upset to happen, it could happen in that game.
I am worried about Aaron Ramsey. I've seen him enough in Serie A this season, but I think it's 11 games without conceding a goal for Italy, and if they win this one, they tie Italy's all-time record for consecutive games without a loss. So I can't see anything else but a win. But I'll be proven wrong.
Rob, what do you think?
I do think Wales will probably give them the sternest test, like James said. I think it's highly likely that they're going to have the most fans at this game than they've had in either of the previous two games as well. They're going to there's a lot of fans that this is probably the only game they'll be going to because the other two were in Baku. So they would have been looking forward to this for 5 years, really. So the Welsh fans are going to be noisy. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than there should be out there. And I think they're going to be very confident in the way that they played against Turkey. I'm not too sure personally about doubling up defensively on Italy. I've had a look at Belotti. If he starts, I think I'll have him in because he's only 8 million. So I think that's a good way of being attacking that game. Because I'll probably have him in, and then I'll probably end up captaining him for the first day just to roll the dice on him. But yeah, it's interesting that Spinazzola, you think that Spinazzola will still start and play. So that's made me think, do I want to, instead of having Belotti and a midfielder, do I want to go Belotti and Spinazzola instead? So it gives me a bit of food for thought, and I'm sure a bit of food for thought for the viewers and listeners as well.
Before we move on to the next game, just a quick question, James, on Spinazzola versus Di Lorenzo. I don't know if I'm right, I might be wrong, but someone was saying Di Lorenzo used to be a striker a while ago, and that he's really attacking.
Yeah, I think all the wing backs are very attacking. I can't confirm if he ever was a striker. I think the problem with Di Lorenzo is he is technically the second choice behind Florenzi. I know Florenzi pulled up in that first game with an injury. Supposedly he's trained all week. So could we see Florenzi come back in? I think it's a 50-50 between him and Di Lorenzo for that starting right back role. And I think that's the beauty of having the team sheets for this match week. You can guarantee yourself some starters.
I mean, it doesn't mean that because he used to play a striker, it means he's a very good. Yeah. He's a good striker. Wan-Bissaka used to be a striker.
I know. I'm just saying that is Spinazzola versus. Let's say the team sheet comes out and they're both starting. Is Spinazzola still the better option in terms of more attacking? Because I don't watch Italy normally, other than obviously during the Euro, so I don't know who's more attacking out of the two.
I would say Spinazzola is still the favourite going forward, just off form and everything else. And I think the problem you saw with the Italian defence, not that there has been any problems, but when Chiellini went off against Switzerland, you actually saw these fullbacks become a little bit more retreated in their roles because they haven't maybe got the same confidence in Acerbi defensively. And that may be something that plays into Wales's hands, that if these wing-backs don't push on like they have been before and causing problems, maybe that gives Wales a bit more advantage up the field. But I just don't think Italy are going to show much respect to Wales being at home, and on the record they are.
Okay. Right, let's move on to the next game then, and that's Turkey-Switzerland. And James, you're looking at this one as well.
Yeah, this is one that I'm steering well clear of in fantasy perspective. I think, as I said before, we've all been mightily disappointed with Turkey. I think coming into it, everyone said that they might be a dark horse, maybe give Italy some problems, should get through the group. And when you look that they've played 2 games, is it a -5 goal difference? Then they need more than a Christmas miracle to make it through against Switzerland with a win and 3 points. They're really going to need something special. And I think Switzerland, on 1 point, maybe a win and 4 points gets them through, but on such a weak goal difference, I think there's going to be third place teams in other groups that get through ahead of them, and I can really see this game just petering out into nothing. And I think both teams will be so devoid of confidence and looking to do anything with it that I think it's one to stay well clear of for people.
Okay. Lama, I know you're not playing the game, but what do you think about this Turkey-Switzerland game? Do you think it's worth, from what you've seen so far, it's worth backing any Swiss players in this game?
I'm not so
sure. Or do you
kind
of agree with James?
No, I think I would probably need to side with James on this. And I think like what we spoke about at the start as well, Sham, that for me, I thought Turkey were going to be up there, and pushing, whether it's for that second or best third place qualifier, and they've just not turned up at all. Which I don't know what's happening there. But yeah, it's, and then with Switzerland, like what James was talking about, I don't think there's, in my opinion, there's many that you would lean towards and bring into your team, unless it's a money thing. You're just trying to get someone on that's maybe a little bit cheaper. But yeah, I don't think that would be a game I would be particularly targeting, to be totally honest, Shampoo.
Rob, I know we initially spoke before and you were looking at some Swiss players. Are you still are or not?
Well, it wasn't a plural, it was just one, and that was Embolo.
Yeah.
Because he really impressed me in the first game against Wales, where he seemed to be like a bit of a bully, but then he was kept really quiet. I mean, I think most strikers in the world will be kept really quiet by Bonucci and Acerbi. Would that Swiss defence keep? Will the Turkish defence keep him quiet as well? I'm not sure. So he could be someone that, if you're looking for a bit of a differential, maybe for tomorrow evening, he could be someone. I mean, we know that the Swiss, they have to win, but on the other hand, Turkey have an outside chance of managing to sneak through. They'd probably have to score 4 or 5 without reply. But there's an outside chance. I think James from Planet FPL, he posted out the third place standings from the last Euros, where Portugal snuck through in the third place standings on a goal difference of 0 with 3 draws and 3 points. But there was one team, I think, on -1 that made it through as well. So if you think that 0 mark is maybe the cutoff, then there's an outside chance, but I think the Swiss will be going for it more. They've been slightly more impressive. Like against Wales, they were very good, and they should have probably won that game. So yeah,
what do you guys think of Rodriguez? Do you think he's a shout in this game? The defender.
I wouldn't go for a defender.
As I said, I'm steering well clear. I think when we talk about differentials, maybe the only person that comes to mind for me for Turkey is maybe Yilmaz up front as a cheaper striker, just off his club form this year. But we've seen little to nothing from him in this tournament. But as Rob said, if they're chasing goals, maybe he's one, because from what I've seen league-wise, he is deadly. But I think it's one that's easy to avoid for most people during their teams this week.
I wouldn't really go for a defender either. Like the fact that if it's like 0-0 and going into the last 10 minutes, Switzerland are going to be throwing everyone forward to get that goal, and you'd then fancy Turkey to maybe hit them on the break and cost you a clean sheet, because you know that Rodriguez is going to be on the pitch for 90 minutes. I probably wouldn't touch any defensive assets at all. And yeah, if you're going to go for anyone as a gamble, it would have to be a forward.
Okay, let's look at Group B. And Rob, you're looking at this one. First one is Belgium, Finland. What side are we going to see in this game? I know Roberto Martinez has said that, from what I remember, Vermaelen, KDB, Witsel, and Hazard start, I believe.
Yep.
Have we heard anything else? What do you think of this
We
game?
haven't heard anything else of the team, but I think that is enough to be able to get some assets in. You'd probably imagine that Meunier will almost definitely play as well because he's the only right back in the squad now, so he's probably a lock. So I think just there you've got Hazard, who looked a lot better. He looked like a completely different player from the game against Russia when he came on against Denmark. I remember like a couple of nights ago when we spoke about that Denmark-Belgium game, I mentioned how he just seemed to have that spring in his step again, and he didn't look like he'd had a Big Mac before coming on, because he is the Belgian face of McDonald's apparently. Yeah, I think he has got something to prove, and yeah, it could be a good opportunity for him. So him, De Bruyne, Meunier, probably three that I'll definitely have. You could take a gamble on Christian Benteke, who, if you've got Hazard and De Bruyne, you imagine probably Dries Mertens might play as well again, and you've got those sort of players that are very creative around Benteke. You'd fancy him to maybe get a goal, unless
does he start with Batshuayi? Yeah, that's the problem.
Well,
right?
I'd imagine it'll be Benteke ahead of Batshuayi, purely because if anything did happen to Lukaku, Benteke would be the man that comes in ahead of Batshuayi, and the reason there is this rotation is partly to give players rest, but it's partly to keep other players ready. So it would make sense to start Benteke, give him 70 minutes or whatever, and then maybe give Batshuayi a run out at the end, just to make sure that if anything did happen to Lukaku ahead of the round of 16 or then the quarterfinals or anything, Benteke is then ready to step up and play that number 9 role.
Okay. James, any additional thoughts on this game?
No, as I said before we started this is one I'm looking to target quite heavily. And like a lot of people, I'm on my limitless that will come into towards the end, but this is one that I think there's some real point scoring opportunity. And I think Rob's mentioned the ones that I think you're nailed on, your Hazard, your De Bruyne, and I'm also backing Courtois. I think there's a clean sheet in there for Belgium.
You don't prefer Meunier over Courtois?
No, I think Nasser Chadli will start on that side instead of Meunier.
Ooh,
interesting.
And
Lama,
I think
what do you think?
will start up front as well. Sorry, over Benteke.
Lama, what do you think of this game? How do you think it's going to turn out?
I mean, you can't look past Belgium. I think even before a ball was kicked at this tournament, you were I don't know about you guys, but I was certainly looking at the likes of your Italy's, your Belgiums, France obviously is kind of like your big teams that you think are going to go a fair distance. As David's just said in the chat as well, though, I take it, are you saying that Lukaku and that would be likely rotated out?
Yeah, I'd think Lukaku looked a bit like he looked a bit drained. I mean, he was impressive. He assisted the assister with both their goals the other day. But I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to just give him the day off, because like the Euro. I mean, the World Cup. I think you have an extra day or two between games. The Euro is just comes thick and fast every game, and I think going into the round of 16, where I believe they won't know their opposition until after the very last game. I think the first from Group B plays a third place team, so they won't know their opposition until the very last game is finished. So yeah, it's
and no love for your wee Finnish pal Pukki.
The Finnish Mbappe.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I would love it. Finland have put themselves in a good position.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking, because like if you're listen, I don't think Finland will beat Belgium, but if there's someone that you might think from that team that you could punt on to score you a goal, Pookie's got to be up there, surely.
Do you know what? I think the other striker,
Polipano.
I think he's looked really sharp compared to Pookie.
Both ruined his name there. Poyan Polo.
Yeah. We need Nilo on the stream to
well,
pronounce his name for us.
Hopefully Finland. I think they'll obviously set up very defensively, because if they can sneak a point or even just lose 1-0, then they might have an outside chance of going through. So they're going to set up very defensively. I don't see them really trying to move forward with the ball much. I think Pookie, if there's anyone that could bully like the likes of Alderweireld, Vertonghen or Vermaelen, whoever starts, then we know that he's one of these strikers that likes to get himself, like he's very old school with the way he plays and likes to put himself about. So he could, like they've shown that they can hit teams on the break, and they're very aerially they seem to be very like a big threat.
I think that would be it, pal. I think it would be like on a counter attack, hitting them, countering, attacking, and then trying to hit them that way. And I know you'll come on to the next game, but that's the reason why I wouldn't look past Finland either, because they'll be sitting there thinking Russia are going to go all out against Denmark to guarantee their, qualifying. So that almost punts Finland out the window.
Yeah, and likewise, Denmark are going to be doing the same to Russia.
Exactly.
Well, let's move on to that game, Rob. What do you think is going to happen here? Because you backed.
I think this could be one of the games of match day 3.
Really?
Because
Denmark looked quite impressive against Belgium. That first half, they smashed them.
They really impressed me against Belgium, and even in the second half, they were very impressive. There was a few moments where they could have probably got themselves a result. Like the Belgian defence didn't look at all comfortable dealing with Braithwaite, Dalsgaard, and Poulsen. And Marler as well got himself forward. Marler is going to be in my wildcard team.
He got 3 shots on target.
3 shots on target. He created a few big not big chances, a few chances as well. He seemed to be playing at times almost as a left winger. This is against a Belgian side, that he had. Like he was supposed to be back defending against Lukaku and Mertens, but in the end, in the second half, he got caught out by Lukaku. I think it's going to be a bit of a goal fest. I could see it being like 3-2 either way.
Outside of Myler, then, is there anyone else in Denmark that you would look at, James?
I'm backing Poulsen in my limitless. I think he's a bit of a differential when we talk about this. I saw the Russian defender Mario Fernandez, who I know a lot of us back this week, went down injured in the last game and isn't going to play. So I think that already weakens what is not a particularly strong defence as it is. And as we said, that first kind of 30 to 40 minutes against Belgium before Belgium kind of sorted themselves out. Denmark looked all over them and could have had 2 or 3. And I think Poulsen is the one for me that we saw him take his opportunity well against Belgium. And I think if he gets those kind of opportunities against Russia, he could score 2 or 3, as Rob said, and they could be flying.
Lama, is anyone that impressed you from this Denmark side?
No, not well. There's a couple there that are fairly decent. I think James is kind of, you boys have kind of rattled off the kind of key players that you would go for, and out of that, no, not really. Probably leave it as it is.
Rob, was there anyone else apart from Mela? I didn't ask you.
Well, Poulsen, I forgot to mention it. He's going to be in my wildcard draft. I mean, alternatively, you could go Braithwaite. He seems to just shoot on sight a little bit, though. and he's not great. He does shoot a lot. I mean, for the fan team game, yeah, he might have like 5 or 6 shots on goal. He might get a couple on target for an extra 0.6 for your score. But yeah, I think I'd rather have Poulsen that seems to get himself in better positions than Braithwaite, who tends to get the ball slightly wider or slightly deeper, and he tends to have a lot of shots from 20, 25 yards, as if he doesn't know what better to do with the ball.
Yeah. Right, let's look at Group C then. And Lama, you're looking at this one. So Netherlands and North Macedonia first. Any ideas what that Netherlands side might look like?
Well, I don't know. It's like what you boys are talking about. And again, obviously, you have to just excuse my Euro fantasy ignorance here. But when we're talking about a lot of players that could be potentially rotated out in this particular game week, and Netherlands could be one of those teams because they're pretty much through, right?
Yeah.
So that could be their opportunity to just get the other players that are on the fringes and just get them out and just get their legs moving, kind of idea. So like, say my favourite player that I love to pronounce, like Wilder-Weldum. You could be looking at him. Depay. Look how good's he been? Absolute mince when he was at Man United, but turns it on when he's wearing the orange shirt. Dumfries as well is another player, but as you guys were talking about, I still, when you're talking about a result, I can't look past them not winning that game. But as you guys, have mentioned about rotation, I think that's the fear of the game. Because you just don't know who's going to turn up. But by the sounds of it, you're in a fortunate position whereby you'll get to see the team sheets before you need to make a decision.
No,
not for this one.
Netherlands, not for this game. Only for Group A, so only for the games that are on tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, well, your bum's out the window then.
So my thoughts on it are so a lot of people, and I don't know too much about him. Marlon.
Yeah,
Marlon. Yeah. What does anyone know anything about him that they can talk about? James, do you know?
All I know is he was at Arsenal and let go, and now he's worth about 50 million euros. So another good bit of Arsenal business. I think he's one that I could see coming in for this game. I know De Boer spoke after the last game and said they still want to work on this 5-3-2 that they've been playing. So keeping the same formation maybe gives you a little bit of a better idea about places that could come in and out. I think when Malin came on, he kind of robbed Memphis Depay of an assist. He probably should have shot himself, but he laid it across for Dumfries, who then scored, which a lot of us had Dumfries, so no one was really complaining. But I think Malin could be one that comes in and, North Macedonia, they've looked all right for what a lot of people thought they were going to be, but I think it's one that, Netherlands will be looking to target. But once again, we've just got to worry about this rotation issue. So I've looked at Malin, and also I don't think I can drop Denzel Dumfries after the last 2 weeks. So,
does he play though? That's the problem, right? A lot of people saying Veltman might come in.
It's sacrilege to drop a man that's just scored a goal and kept a clean sheet as a defender. I can't do it. I can't do it to myself. And I might also look at Stecklenburg in goal. I doubt they're going to rotate goalkeepers, and I think it's probably a good option for a clean sheet.
Rob, what do you think on this one?
I'm really struggling not to have he's become he's getting close to being my favourite Denzel. And it's going to be tough to try and leave him out. I think there is that small risk of him being rotated. Weghorst, it looks like here. Yeah, I think that Marlon will come in for him. There'll be some players that, like De Boer said about playing the same system and trying to work on that. There'll be key components of that system that you won't rotate to then, because that's where otherwise it's pointless working on the system if you're not playing some of those key components of it. So the midfield, I think, may go unchanged. So Wijnaldum could easily be someone to target. Like he's been, I know we've spoken about it so much about how attacking he is and how much freedom he gets for the Netherlands. So he's someone that I'm definitely looking at. I think I've had him in game weeks 1, 2, and I'll be rolling the dice on him in game week 3 again to try and get that long-awaited return. So I don't know how he hasn't returned yet. So yeah, I think he's someone, but nowhere. I'm not really looking anywhere else. I think if I'm going for a Dutch defensive asset, I want someone that I've got the backup of attacking returns, because we've said how
I think North Macedonia score. Is my opinion.
Macedonia they've been more than willing to push forward in games. They haven't just sat back, and we spoke about this the other night. They haven't sat back, and there'll be times they're on the front foot, and they will, like Goran Pandev, Bardi, Elmas, they're going to cause some issues for what is a very weak Netherlands defence. So it'll be interesting to see that. But yeah, Dumfries, Wijnaldum, and then Marlon. More likely to go Wijnaldum and Marlon than Dumfries, I think.
Okay, Lama, any additional thoughts on this game before we move on to the next?
No, I don't think so, pal. I think we've kind of covered most of it, haven't we? With regards to kind of who to target and stuff like that.
Right. So next game then, Ukraine and Austria. Anyone from here? And a lot of people are looking at Ukrainian players. What have your thoughts been? Because they looked quite good from an attacking point of view, but obviously they did play North Macedonia.
I think you've got to look at like the two brothers that play for them, although they've changed their surnames slightly at the end. So like your Yarmolenkos and your Yarmatuks. That's probably about the only couple of players that I would look at. And again, both these teams, similar to the last group that we spoke about, both these teams haven't qualified yet. You'd like to think they both will go through, but I can't see this one having as much rotation risk in it. And I think the Ukrainians will just keep out their strong team and just keep playing that. Therefore, they're the kind of two players that I would target. Sham, what about you, mate? Is there anyone in here that you're looking at?
I really liked Malinovsky the last game. Although he missed a penalty, I don't know how he didn't return. He was involved in everything. So I think this could be a 0-0 just because if it's a draw, they're both through. So they'll probably have that.
So like you say, Sham, they could just pass the ball to each other for 90 minutes.
It could be an absolute ball fest.
That
it
happened
could be.
Years ago, I think,
It did.
Sham.
It did. I think it was Germany.
Yeah, the news
Germany
kind of filtered through.
Germany and Austria, I think it was.
Yeah. So I think the news had kind of filtered through with like 20 minutes to go that both of them had qualified. So they just passed the ball about for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. The only thing is why my thoughts are maybe that wouldn't happen is because obviously one of them would finish third, and I think the one that finishes third, they get a much harder they're
guaranteed a group winner.
Yes. Rob, how do you see this one going? Same kind of thoughts to me?
If anyone's going to win, it's going to be Ukraine. And I think they will. As long as they keep their concentration, which they didn't in the second half. They kind of let Macedonia come at them a bit. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking at Yarmolenko and Yaremchuk again. Although a lot of people will be on those. So I might actually go Yarmolenko and Malinovsky because I think a lot of people would have moved off Malinovsky because he's gone 2 games without returning, and they might not have looked at the fact that he should probably have returned at least twice or 3 times in those games, and he was just very unlucky not to. So yeah, I think I might go Yarmolenko and Malinovsky in my final team.
James, anyone from this game you're targeting, or are you just staying clear of this one as well?
I had Yarmolenko and Malinovsky this week. Kept Yarmolenko as my captain, which was brave at that point, but returned well for me. At the moment in my limitless, Yarmolenko is probably the first man outside of that squad I'm kind of undecided between him and Perisic, but that'll be one I decide on probably 2 minutes before the deadline in a blind panic. So I think that's about it. Yeah, I think everyone else is kind of covered.
Just one thing from the chat, someone said about Netherlands, and I forgot to mention this. Windal probably plays in the Netherlands game, I think, because PVA has played 60 odd minutes and Windal has come for the last 30, so there's a possibility Windal might play as well.
They'll just switch round.
So, but because I am back in North Macedonia to score, I probably won't have Windal, but yeah, just one for the chat on that. Right, let's move on to the next game, and this is Group D, another one for you, Lama, and this is Scotland versus Croatia. Let's touch a little bit.
Blow them away, aren't you?
Huh?
Gonna blow them away and win the tournament.
Let's touch a little bit on yesterday's game. I know you went to the Czech game the other day, and we're going to get you to show us some pictures and talk a little bit about that in Panda's section later. But talk to us about Panda's picks. Let's talk. Tell me about the England game yesterday. What were your thoughts?
I thought, well, obviously, first and foremost, I thought it was obviously a really good game, and a draw was a real hard effort that Scotland put in. Not being biased at all, I think if you look at it over the course of the 90 minutes, England hit the bar with that. I don't even know how Stones got up that height, but then obviously hit the bar. Barring that, apart from that, I think Scotland were the better team, to be honest, over the course of the 90 minutes. But unfortunately, the same as what happened in the first game against the Czech Republic, they just can't put the ball in the back of the net. But it's not through lack of trying. Like, the amount of attempts that we've had, Pickford pulled off a worldie that he never even saw until about the last second. But no, if we could, like I said, listen, we're all kind of, like, we obviously all wanted Scotland to win, right? That's kind of natural. Right. But if we're being completely honest and going with our heads, if we could have came away with a draw, talking about it at like 9-10 in the morning, folk would have snapped your hand off for that as a result, if we're being completely honest. So to actually then go out and get it, to set us up with a realistic chance now of actually qualifying for the first time ever, like ever.
Have you never been to round of 16 before? Really?
Nope.
Wow, I didn't know that.
World Cup and Europeans never ever made it out the group stage. And I think we've now got a very good chance. And with it being against Croatia, who also need to win, I'm hoping that it's just going to be an open game, basically. It could just be end to end. And I know, obviously, you guys and where your loyalty, lies in terms of your national team and that. But as I say, I think, Scotland have just got to go out there and go for it, and I think they will do that. And I think yesterday was almost like a reality check for a lot of England supporters, and thought, this isn't actually a championship side in Scotland. There's actually a squad of decent players sitting there. When you look at the likes of Super John McGinn, when you look at Gilmore, who ended up getting man of the match, and I think that's the same kind of side that will go out against Croatia, and they'll just go for it. I mean, when I was at the Czech game, for example, and Che Adams, I don't know, what is it? Is it like his grand's dog or something like that, Scottish, and that's how he's now playing up front? No idea. But what a difference he made coming on in the second half at that Czech game. And again, hopefully, if you guys, I know you're obviously going to look at it from an England perspective, but I think these will be, hopefully, you guys can tell me now in a minute what you think. But I don't think Scotland are as bad as what people were making out that they were going to be, and be complete whipping boys. I was gutted that we were a bit more defensive against the Czechs, but we still had hundreds of chances, like loads of chances. Again, their keeper pulled off 2 world-class saves in that game. But we've just got to go for it, and toes crossed, everything crossed, Scotland might actually qualify.
Do you see any assets here? I know, obviously, like we've said, you're not playing the game. Is there anyone that you'd be looking at from a Scotland or Croatia point of view? People are talking about Perisic from Croatia. Anyone from Scotland?
No, I know a lot of people are talking about Perisic. I think Gilmore's one But again, there's so many, you guys know this, there's so many decent midfielders. I don't think anyone from Scotland's going to get into anyone's midfield fantasy team. But if you're looking for differentials up front, then Che Adams isn't a bad shout, I don't think. Because, as I say, he's just purely looking at trying to get the ball in the back of the net. But you can't back against the proper stats. Scotland haven't scored any goals. So why would you even punt on a Scottish forward? But I just think the game hopefully will be so open that it could be end to end. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Yeah, I know particularly in the first game, people weren't happy with O'Donnell on the right-hand side there. And I don't think he had too... his game yesterday was not bad.
No.
But on the...
He could have gone 0 to hero. It was him that...
Do you think that it's worth targeting that right-hand side with Perisic on his left or not really?
Nah, I think if you're going to target anyone, you can't really look past your Tierneys and your Robertsons, just as almost similar to what you would do in a standard FPL season. When you're looking at defenders, you're wanting ones that are attacking defenders, and that's what Scotland's left-hand side is.
I mean more against Scotland. So for example, backing Perisic against O'Donnell.
Yeah, I think or Modric as well, because... Listen, he's the type of guy that just out of nowhere will score a worldie from like 25 yards. I'm hoping and toes crossed that we don't see another halfway goal, go for the halfway line again.
He would try it.
Yeah. Folk will be doing it all day. No, I think you've named the two, Sham. That if you're going to target anyone from Croatia, I think you've kind of ticked the boxes there with Perisic, possibly Modric. But
James, thoughts on this game? Anyone to look at?
I'd like to echo the thoughts as an Englishman. I think Scotland were a lot better than a lot of us thought they were going to be, and I don't take anything away from Scotland, but I think England might have one of the most B-rate managers the world's ever seen at a tournament, and the man wouldn't get a job in the Championship, let alone the Premiership. No, that's a different issue for a different day. As I said before, I think, as you guys said, this could be a really, really open game with both teams going for it. I said about Perisic before. The other man I've backed from this game, just because I think he is involved in everything Scotland does well, is Andy Robertson. I'm looking at him, as we said before, as a bit more of an attacking asset. If he doesn't get me a clean sheet, I'm hoping he gets me an assist, if not a goal. And he might, as I said, I'm looking to be aggressive in the group stage and going forward, just trying to get as many points as possible. I think it's another one people might shy away from that I think might help me gain those points on the leaderboards.
Rob, anyone from this one that you're looking at?
I think in my current draft, I've got Che Adams. Because he does put himself in the right positions, and we've seen it for Southampton all season. He gets himself in the right positions, and there was a couple of times last night where he got himself in the right position and just panicked a little bit. I think the occasion might have got the better of him. This is someone that only started playing international football in the spring. So he's got he's not got much international experience, and maybe just going from not playing any international football to probably Scotland's biggest game since Euro '96. It's it's a huge thing. So I think if he just gets his head down and concentrates, puts his foot through it properly whilst concentrating, he'll score. And they'll get chances because they'll get at the Croatians in midfield. And I think they might have to ride the storm a little bit from Croatia, I think, at the start. Kind of like what England did for that sort of 15-20 minute period in the first half, where they had those 3 or 4 chances. Like England seemed to dominate in midfield, but then didn't really build on it. So Scotland might have to ride that for a bit longer. Croatia will be very persistent with it. But then if they can get their foot on the ball and kind of make the game play out as Scotland want it to play out, then they'll make chances. And we've seen that Lovren, self-proclaimed best in the world, but he's nowhere near it. And Che Adams, Lyndon Dykes will be at him all all evening, and Trey Adams will be the same.
Yeah, I think Sham. Sorry, I think what last night's game may have done is given Scottish players the belief that they are actually decent enough to attack in this tournament. You know, they might have had they probably will have had a bit of a confidence dunt against Czechs, but then to go down and perform how they did yesterday against, let's be honest, the England team's frightening when you even on the bench as well. And then for England, it's probably gave them a bit of a kick up the backside. You know, it's like, listen, we have got a solid team here, but I don't know why they just can't seem to play together. Like, you know how bad it was getting when Harry Kane came off, with 20 minutes to go or something?
I was shocked when he came off. I was like, what? Kane's coming off?
So,
but to be fair, he had a shit game anyway.
yeah.
Right, let's talk about the England-Czech game quickly, Rob, because we are running over time, so we'll need to speed up. What are your thoughts on this one? And just quickly touch on last night as well at the same time.
Yeah, obviously very disappointed with last night. I think we have said how poor the performance was. I think they were just very slow in the midfield. Didn't really build on that 20 minutes that they had in the first half, where Stones hit the post and Mount put the ball just wide. There was that chance as well, and it was just very lackluster and lethargic. I can see there being not too many changes, but there will be changes in the team. I think Grealish will start. I think he'll play one holding midfielder and start Grealish, as well as Foden, Mount,
Interesting,
and Sterling. I think Kane will still start. I think the back four or the back five, like with Pickford, I think that will remain unchanged. I think on the whole, the defence has been the strong point. I'd probably back a defender again. Reece James, I think didn't get forward enough last night. Sure.
Yeah.
Lots of people have been, I've seen on the Twitter community, a lot of people have been calling for Chilwell instead of Shaw. I don't think Shaw did anything wrong last night, and he seemed to be really trying to break through the lines and get in behind the defence. He did it like 2 or 3 times, but there was no one in the box. There was one point he got himself through, and he's having to try and have this worldy shot with the outside of his left foot because there's no fucker in the box.
From a fantasy point of view, is there anyone that you'd be looking at from England? I know you said defensively, but personally, I think Czech could score. They've been looking quite good from an attacking point of view, especially Patrick Schick.
Yeah, but if you think that the defences that they've come up against,
true.
So, like in that first game, the Scottish defence, they weren't at it. They were missing Tierney. In that second game, we've spoken about the Croatia defence maybe being a little bit dodgy. I think the England defence is a whole new test for him, and I think Mings will start again. He hasn't put a foot wrong so far in the tournament, touch wood. And I think between Mings and Stones, they'll just deal with him. And like you won't get. I think they'll deal with Thomas Souček quite well as well. I think players like Souček that would normally be a good attacking threat will be having to concentrate a lot more on what's going on around him than what's going on in front of him. If England get their heads on and play well, I can't see anything other than an England win. We've seen it in tournaments gone by.
That's what we said against Scotland.
Yeah, that's brave.
We've seen it in so many tournaments gone by that we perform rubbish, and then we get to the third game of the group, and then we put a performance in and we go through. And I cannot see anything other than England winning. Like it's not going to be like 4 or 5-0. I think England win like 2-0, put it to bed, and then football's coming home again.
James, anyone to back from this game?
No, absolutely not. It's painful enough watching England, let alone watching your FPL assets then blank as well. I mean, I've watched Harry Kane play centre defensive mid for most of the game against Scotland. And I think, as we said, there's probably a little bit of rotation risk in there. So I'm steering as far away from England as possible.
I think like Reece James or Luke Shaw, great. As long as Reece James like gets himself forward more. If not, then I think if we get any inclination that Jack Grealish will start, then
I was going to say, what about Grealish?
I think I'll be putting my hat.
He won't start. Gareth Southgate's too stubborn. It will be 2 holding mids, and it will be Raheem Sterling and Phil Foden, maybe Marcus Rashford instead.
Gareth Southgate's biggest fan, James, yeah?
Absolutely not.
I think it's crazy though, Sham, that you guys have got such a great attacking English side, yet Southgate plays it so defensive.
Yeah.
Even with Sancho, right?
It's just it just blows my mind. Like why?
I put it in the group chat the other night and said we might be one of the most boring teams in the tournament that are favourites to go far. I think we're so uninspiring up front, and I think the moment we come up against a decent defence,
it's a good job you can support two countries, James. Right? Anyone got anything else to add on this game? No. Okay, let's move on. Rob, Poland v Sweden, Group E. Anyone we're looking at here?
I'd be backing the Swedish defence. Augustinsson has been good. He gets forward. They haven't really they defended really well against Spain, and then they just kept Slovakia. I know that Slovakia aren't the most inspiring team, but they just kept them quiet for the game. I'd be back in the Swedish defence and maybe Alexander, because I think he's got goals in him, and against Poland where I think the Poles they still got that outside chance. They'll have to go for it, but his pace it's like quite scary, and he's got the ability to take it past players. So I think Alexander Isak is definitely someone that I'd be looking to get in for match day 3.
James, anyone you're looking at? Anyone you got?
I'm actually going to go the other way, and I think if there's one man that might carry Poland through to the knockout rounds, it might be Lewandowski. I watched him tonight. He should have had one in the first half. It was a good save. I think he might have been offside anyway, and then took his chance against Spain well. And he's on penalties. And as I said, I think they're on a -1 goal difference. A 1-2-0 win might be enough to get them through. And I think if there's one man that can drag 10 other pretty average footballers through a game, it might be that man.
Lama, anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I think you boys have covered it. But I mean, after that game that I'm sitting at the moment, still they two behind me still haven't moved. That game the Knights just blew that group wide open.
Yeah, let's talk about Spain and Slovakia whilst we're at that. Then go on, carry on.
No, so like as I say, I think I can't see Spain not beating Slovakia, to be honest. But then I didn't see them I didn't see that happening tonight either. So it's such a weird, final kind of game to go into.
The Spanish they've really struggled to break through, like a deep line defense.
Yes,
and Slovakia have a deep line.
Yeah, they're gonna literally put a bank of 4 or 5 on the penalty spot line, and that's how they're gonna play. And I'm just not sure whether Spain can get through that.
No.
Any Spain players that you liked the look of from tonight's game, Lama?
Not really, to be honest. It was. I don't know.
Defensively against Slovakia, do you reckon?
I mean, that's the thing. I'm just looking at like stats at the moment, and like 5 of their last 6 matches have ended in a draw. I mean, fair enough, it was a while back, but it could end up just being as boring as that, this game. And then you could see someone like Poland actually, qualifying out of the group.
Yeah. I think Poland, this is my outside bet. I think Poland I think Spain will draw to Slovakia, and Poland will jump them and qualify, and Spain will go out in the group stage.
Wow.
I think Spain just don't know what to do with that ball in the last 18. I think Moreno tonight looked a little bit better. Should have scored his penalty and had an assist for Morata. So I think he's a bit of a cheaper option as a forward. I think Spain look particularly average in that forward position. And as I said, I think that I'll hold my hat on it. I think they'll finish bottom of the group.
Interesting. Rob, any additional thoughts for this game?
I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest. They have been particularly uninspiring. I know we spoke to Raul before tournament, and he said that he'd have liked to have seen them play with a 5-back and try and really get play with those attacking fullbacks and play in a different way. And originally, when I saw the news that Moreno and Morata was starting, I was like, oh my god, they've moved to a 5-back. And then I realised that Moreno was coming in for Ferran Torres, and it wasn't a change of system at all. They need to change something because they've made chances, but they've probably fallen to the wrong forward at the wrong time. Moreno is playing far too wide, considering he is the best striker in that squad. You've got Morata sitting there. Whether he was offside tonight or not, I don't. I think he might have been like half an inch off, but because they've got the thicker lines for VAR, it kept him onside. I just have no confidence in that Spanish side scoring sometimes.
No.
And tonight, other than when they did score and they had like a few half chances, that's like they haven't threatened. Just it's lots of moving the ball around nicely in midfield and then getting to the last third and not having the end product.
Right, let's look at Group F, and we had some cracking games from this group today. Let's look at Hungary versus Germany first, James. What did you think of that Portugal Germany game today, and what do you think will happen in the Hungary Germany game?
I think this is possibly turned out to be the best group of the tournament. We all thought it was going to be a good one with the three that are sat in 1, 2, 3 at the moment, but I have to hold my hands up and say fair play to Hungary today. They almost did the impossible and would have really blown this tournament wide open. But when we look at the Portugal Germany game from today, I think Germany looked pretty good against France and just didn't have that end product, and I think they found that today. And I think that Portuguese aging defence got pulled and pushed and just kind of bullied today. And I think that's one. Before I saw the game today, I was already thinking about targeting, and after the Germany game today, I think that's one that, especially for myself on a limitless, I think there's a good shout to still have a French attacker against that Portuguese defence. And looking at Germany, I think, Hungary had a good game today, but they are the weakest team in the group, and I will still be looking up for a triple up on Germans for this game because I think they're really impressed today.
Which ones did you like? So obviously, I'm assuming you're going to say Gosens in defence. He just looked like a maniac, like 2 assists and a goal. Anyone else?
I wish I had the timestamp of when I sent in my limitless team to you guys, but that was before Gosens had got 2 assists and a goal.
Yeah, same with me as well. When I sent mine, that was before.
So I think those wing backs getting forward are such a big threat. We've seen that with Italy as well. I know it's kind of pushing on and causing problems. For me, I think the 3 I'm leaning towards would be Gosens. I had Gnabry. I now think I'd probably go Havertz. I think Havertz is really far forward and he's starting to show why Chelsea spent so much money on him. I think he's a real integral part of that Germany team. And if I was to pick a third at the moment, I think it would be Neuer just for the guaranteed start. And I'm going to say a guaranteed clean sheet, but Hungary scored against France. So I maybe won't say a guaranteed clean sheet, but I think Hungary maybe look weaker attacking than they look defensively. So maybe try to play with an extra German defensive asset compared to a forward asset might be a better policy.
Lama, anyone from Germany that you liked the look of from today's game?
I think James has kind of covered it, to be honest. I think Havertz did look decent, as well as him, Gosens as well. So they would be the kind of two that I would target. I mean, if you want to be punty, you could go for the likes of Diaz and Guerrero. I mean, they both scored today. Fair enough, it was at the wrong side, right? But if you need a defender to score you a goal, then they too. But no, in all seriousness, no, as James mentioned, Sham, Havertz and Gosens, I think, are a decent couple of players to have for the German team.
So I initially had Müller, Gnabry and Gosens before. I'm now looking at Gosens, Kimmich and Havertz. I really liked Kimmich. They got 2 assists. And I'm not on Limitless. I'm on wildcard, James, so I can't. It's more difficult for me to punt on the board.
Midfielder?
He's a midfielder, yeah. He is a midfielder. That's the only thing. I know he's kind of like reverse out of position, but I think the way that they're playing at the moment, they are basically playing as wingers.
Yeah.
So, Rob, who did you like from this game? And have you changed who you're thinking to have?
I think, first of all, we got to say that like Hungary are going to be a completely different team in Munich than they are in Budapest. Like that you can't take away the fact that they've got 70-odd thousand fans there.
That is very true.
And the atmosphere, they've got that. It is a 12th man. Like we've heard that atmosphere for our TV screens, and it's been crazy seeing what they've been like. So I think that without that extra push, like the Germans. Like at the start, Hungary will probably play very similarly, but the Germans will just gradually break them down. They did look very impressive against Portugal. One of the things in that game today, like people have said, "Oh, what a game!" I think both teams didn't defend particularly well, and the Portuguese should have had 3 or 4 themselves. It was just Germany took the chances that they got, or most of them, but there was a lot more. Like it's one of those games. It could have finished 6-6, because it was such a thrilling game. Yeah, I'm backing Gnabry at the moment, and Havertz and Gosens as my 3. I think Gnabry's got a hole in him somewhere, and he could have. Well, he should have had one the other night against France. He could have had a couple today. He would have had an assist had there not been an own goal for Diaz.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm backing 3 Germany players. I think if I was on Limitless, I'd be looking at a French attacker as well, to take on the Portuguese defence. I think Mbappe can
just
cause Pepe some problems.
Then. James, Portugal, France. You'd go with a French attacker here, would you? Not anyone from Portugal?
I think you could argue the case, maybe an attacker from either team. I don't think there's a lot of defensive assets in this game that make a lot of sense. From what I've seen of this tournament, Ruben Diaz looks like he's never played in a Man City shirt. I don't know what's happened to him in a Portugal shirt. He looks half the centre back.
He's been countered by Pepe.
Yeah, and I just think Mbappe, Griezmann, Benzema front 3 with someone like Dembele coming on as well. I think he could be getting turned inside out, left to right.
Well, David earlier on in the chat said that Mbappe's looked more like the French Pookie at the moment.
I think that's incredibly harsh. I think Mbappe was bright again today. I think he should have had 1. And as I said, against that centre back partnership of Pepe and Diaz doesn't fill me with any confidence. And on a Limitless, I'm with Mbappe, and I might even, just because of who he is, Ronaldo might just sneak into my team last minute
I
because
think
he's just stupid at his age. He's just too good.
I think his goal, the first goal earlier, it was just unbelievable. The fact that he headed the corner out, and to see him put that, I mean, I know it was relatively early in the game still, but you're seeing a 36-year-old man like just fucking on his bike, and it reminded me a bit of years ago, like we're talking what 12, 13 years ago, United versus Arsenal at Highbury, when he made the clearance at a corner and he finished a chance at the other end. And it was like the guy's like bloody Benjamin Button. He's just like like people that are saying, "Oh, it could be his last major tournament." Forget about it. This guy's he's got at least the World Cup, and I think it'll be the next Euros that will be his final.
Oh
tournament.
wow, 4 years.
I think he'd go 4 years.
3 years actually.
And the last thing I'd just like to say on Ronaldo is I think he could be a good one against France because is he front runner for Golden Boot or equal front runner?
Equal, yeah.
And if there's one man you don't want to bet against winning a Golden Boot, it's that man. So I feel like he might think that he's got another opportunity to get himself ahead.
Anyone else got anything to add on this game?
No, I don't think so. I think the guys you were talking about, Sham, and obviously James, Rob, are the two that you would look at. Mbappe and Ronaldo, just both ends.
Perfect. Right. Paolo just on the chat said, he said the fullbacks today were the problem for Portugal. Guerrero and Semedo could not keep up with Gosens and Kimmich. Against France, it will be a close game because a draw can both pass and we will know what we need before the game. Interesting. Right. Okay. Let's move on to Panda's picks then. That's all the games reviewed. Rob, we'll need to move quick time because we're already at an hour and 15 minutes.
Yep. There's only a few pictures today. One thing I noticed today, I think it's quite apt that we're talking about Group F and going into this. So when Hungary scored, and the first thing I saw when the player ran into the corner, he jumped over the fence here. And I was like, what is this woman in the corner doing? Like, she's like I think she's getting her snacks ready for half time or something. Like, and yeah, I thought that this image is just so scary. And I think he got to the point where he even like pushed all the water bottles off the table before she even realised what the fuck was going on.
You sure it wasn't Coca-Cola bottles?
At which point, yeah, she suddenly realised, oh God, I'm probably on like international television right now, and then gave this rather shocked expression towards the camera. It was yeah, quite a funny moment, I think. Yeah, completely caught out. Then we've got some images. I'm assuming it's from yesterday after the game at Wembley. It's some Scottish fans enjoying some bubbles in the streets of London.
Is that Lama there? Is that you there, Lama?
I had to check what it was. I was like, that isn't fucking snow, is it? Why is there snow on the streets? But I think it's someone's got like some fairy liquid from a shop and poured it on the street for them to.
I think what they do, what we typically do, is go down to Trafalgar Square and put fairy liquid in the water fountains.
Oh, is that where it is? That
and then it just obviously then you get just your lather coming up, and that's what they've used here is just like all the lather off the fountain and just slide about in it.
Another image from Hungary versus France earlier. Guillaume.
Who's that?
I'm not going to say his name. Our French rep.
Our French rep, yeah.
Was at the game today and sent us this picture from the game. Yeah, he was one of the 70-odd thousand in the ground, which was great to see that he was there. I remember him saying that he'd be going out to Budapest for the game today. So sadly, they didn't get the result that he wanted, but I bet that atmosphere would have just been. I'm just jealous of being able to go to a game with a capacity crowd. And there's even been talk today that the final might get moved to Budapest, but
Oh wow.
because of it's to do with the capacities and UEFA wanting access for all the VIPs. So
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
The fact that they can go to a venue that's got 100% would be very interesting. I doubt it will happen. I think there'll be too much opposition from the French FAs, the English FA, obviously. All the FAs that are this side of Europe will be very heavily opposed to it because Wembley is an hour or two flight, whilst Budapest is a few more. And then that leads us finally on to our friend, Darren Fletcher, and our friend here, Lama, who's given us some of his picks from the game against the Czech Republic the other day. I mean, what was it like? I mean, I saw you put a video up of the crowd singing "Flowers of Scotland" and like the atmosphere. Even though it was, how many people were there?
So this was I think there was just under 10,000 went. And I think it was a bit of it is a massive shame because when you look at the games that we just spoke about and it's like full, don't get me wrong, the atmosphere was great at Hampden and it always is. But to have it rammed would have been so much better. And you guys will be the same. If you could get like a full Wembley, I mean, what a difference that makes in itself.
If Wembley was full, I'd have been to 2 games. Yeah.
So I mean that's the shame of it. Is what it is, you know, and it was a cut out crowd. But no, what a day! It was a great day. That was me there with my dad, my best mate, and his wee boy. We were actually sitting just in front of the BBC, kind of where they were doing their filming. So that was how we got Leo up there with a picture with Darren Fletcher and that as well. So it was good. It was a great day. No drinking either. That was the other weird thing.
Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, no alcohol in.
Yeah, no alcohol in the stadium. So
I'm all against it.
The other thing, we had to be there between 11 and half 11. That was our slot to get in. So the kickoff wasn't until 2.
Oh wow!
And all we had was like water, basically.
Fucking hell.
I think I downed 6 cans of Red Stripe before I went in. Because the police in that were brand new. They were like, listen, just get your drink finished here, boys, and then you can head in, no problem. So there was just piles of Scottish folk down and everything. But no, what a great day, great atmosphere. Result, as we spoke about earlier, obviously wasn't the best, but hey, it is what it is. It's just great that Scotland are actually back in a tournament for first time in 23 years.
What was your reaction to that Czech goal?
Do you know what? It was a great first goal. Let's be honest about it. The guy leaped like a salmon to stick it into the bottom corner. It was the timing of the goals that was the issue, because that one happened just before half time, and then the second one, it was just one of those kind of freak kind of things, wasn't it? It was like a ricochet, and then it landed at the striker's feet. And
great assist by Souček.
And Marshall, I think, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was just tying his shoelaces at the halfway line or something, but then tried to make every effort to get back and get it. But some of the memes of Marshall on Twitter were funny.
We've shown the memes.
No, the memes were brilliant. But no, as I say, Sham, what a day. Wasn't the result that we wanted, but it is what it is. And it's all to play for on Tuesday.
Yeah, just quickly, because I've just mentioned him and I've just noticed James, you look a little bit like Souček, you know.
Do I?
Yeah, you've got the shaped head and the same. Yeah, I think you have. Don't you think, Rob? No, or my bum. No, I think you do look a bit like Souček.
I've been called worse, so I'll take it.
Lama, are you going to go to any other games?
So, funnily enough, we on the show we interviewed a girl who works for Sony TV, and I think it was BN Sports
Aisha.
As well. Yeah, Aisha. Yeah. So she messaged me after the Czech game and was like, "Oh, really sorry, Stevie. I forgot that you might have been at this game," because she was going to get us round to where she was, which is at the halfway line.
Yeah.
So she was asking about Tuesday, and I've not got tickets at the moment, but I'm hoping that I might be able to go. So. Yeah, hopefully I might get to meet up with her at the game, because she's commentating on it for Sony TV or whoever it is.
Yeah.
Like she's
nice. Thanks for that, Lama. Rob, anything else in your section?
No. So should we quickly rattle through? Let's rattle through some of our drafts where we stand. Yeah.
Yep. Go for it.
Let's go with James's limitless draft first. Obviously, this is before the German onslaught this afternoon. Do you want to talk us through it, James?
As I said, I think I've got the 3 Germans on the bench. I think Gnabry might come out for Havertz. I didn't realise I had Jordi Alba on my bench. He'll definitely be coming out. I don't know why I left that. As I said, up front, I've got Mbappe against that Portuguese defence. Poulsen, I think, is a bit of a differential. The 3 Italians I've just left in as placeholders because obviously we're going to get to see the team, but they'll just be moved in and out with 3 other Italians. De Bruyne, Hazard, Courtois, we spoke about earlier, I think are 3 guaranteed starters for Belgium and point scorers. And then, as I said, I got Perisic, Robertson. Perisic may move out for Yarmolenko. I'm pretty happy with Andy Robertson at both ends of the pitch to hopefully get me a return. And as I said, I think it can be sacrilege to get rid of Denzel Dumfries because he'll probably score 3 goals and get a clean sheet this week. So, as I said, Gnabry to come out for Havertz, and at the moment, Jordi Alba will probably not be in that as my spare defender. For now, undecided where to go with that.
Interesting. Right, who's next, Rob?
So Lama, even though you're not playing the game, you sent us through a wildcard draft of what you would do if you were playing the game this week with a wildcard. So do you want to just quickly talk us through it?
Or a few players that you like?
Listen, as you say, it was just something that I kind of quickly tried to throw together. As I say, as we mentioned earlier, targeting the kind of couple of Belgians there in Meunier and Kevin De Bruyne as attacking midfielder, obviously. And then again, talking about the Germans, so Gosens and Hummels potentially both in there. But listen, I'm pretty certain I would change all this or change some of it, come the start. But Arnautovic as well as someone possibly to look at. Do you know what it is, boys? I can't see Holland, to me, have played so well in their first couple of games, and if they keep that kind of form up, they could be dangerous going into the kind of the latter stages.
Even though, we've they've obviously got those inadequacies and stuff. You can see there is a confidence building with them, and if they get themselves, they can get another win against Macedonia, and then get themselves a good draw in the round of 16, get past that, then it's anyone's day, then, isn't it? Really,
I think that's it. I think the hard
for you.
Yeah, I mean the hard task obviously is where we're at now is getting yourself out the group stages. Once you're out of that, it's just a knockout, basically. So anything can happen in those games. I think it's funny when people talk about, we need to finish second because second's a better way through towards the final and stuff. And you think, wait a minute, if you want to actually win this tournament at some point, whether it's in the knockout stages or the final itself, you're going to need to be playing a decent side. So to have that mentality is almost...
That's only England fans that want to finish second because we always lose to a decent team. That's the problem.
I mean, I was just going to say that, people, they look at who you might be playing. They don't look at where you might be playing, and the fact that if we might play Slovakia at the moment, it'd be Slovakia in Copenhagen, and 3 days or 4 days after the third game, our third game, and then after that, so you beat Slovakia, then you got to go to fucking St. Petersburg. It's like a 5-hour fucking flight.
It's like the National Lampoons on their European journey.
And people go, oh yeah, but you're getting the easier route. It's like St. Petersburg and back, you lose a day of training and nothing. at the end of the day, everything in the performance last night says I don't want to lose a couple of days of training for travel.
No, exactly.
We want them on the training pitch working, and yeah, a little 2-hour flight to Rome for the quarterfinals on the back of beating possibly one of the big nations is a lot better than going to Copenhagen and St. Petersburg for England.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, Rob, who's next?
Let's do you, and then we can finish with me.
Okay. So my team is this what you're seeing on the screen. However, it has changed since earlier. So I did have Marlon, Muller, and Moreno up front. I'm probably not going to go with Moreno now, just because of that Spanish side. I just wasn't impressed. And I had Gnabry, Hazard, Chiesa, De Bruyne, and Shaqiri. I'm probably going to be taking out Shaqiri and Gnabry. I like Chiesa in there as well if he does get that start. I'm looking at Kimmich, I think, for Gnabry, maybe. I'm still undecided on that. And then at the back, I had Vermaelen in there just because he was the only player that was kind of guaranteed to start from Belgium because of what Martinez said. But now what you're saying about Meunier, I'm not sure because obviously, James, you think Chadley might start.
Yeah,
So
I think Chadley will start on that side.
So now I'm kind of not sure. And obviously Gosens, Pau Torres, Di Lorenzo at the time because I wasn't sure about Spinazzola, but Spinazzola will come in if he's playing, and Windal. But I think Windal will probably come out for. Again, I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look at it again tonight. Everything I was out all day, so I haven't had a chance to look at it. But yeah, it's kind of all change. I think. But I do like this. I don't know if I like the double Spanish defense after tonight because I had Simone in goal. But I don't really like Pau Torres and Simone now. So I'll have to have a look at it. Rob?
So yeah, my team. So at the moment I've got Kakir and Bushan in goal. I think yeah, the Turkey could be good for a clean sheet against Switzerland, or it'll be low scoring. So yeah, I'm going with that, and then yeah, Bushan yeah against Austria, I think is another good shot at a clean sheet. So if I don't get the Turkish one, there's the second roll of the dice there. As I've said earlier, Marla Di Lorenzo's in there as like a bit of a placeholder. Gosens, I think he's going to be very highly owned in match day 3 after his performance today. I've got Meunier at the moment, but yeah, James is trying to put me off him. If he then hauls, I'm coming to hunt you down, James.
That's fine.
At the moment, Pau Torres, yeah, even though Spain don't look good going forward, they look fairly solid at the back. So I don't think Slovakia are going to have much to give them problems at the back. So yeah, I'd be confident in having him in there. Then in midfield, I've got Gnabry. Like I said, I expect him to get a return. Havertz, yeah, playing at that on that false 9 that Kevin had mentioned in the previous streams. It looks like, and he could have really hauled today if things went his way. But yeah, he got some points on the board. De Bruyne, we know he's starting, so there's no question not to start him. He's the best player at the tournament, maybe bar Ronaldo. We can argue about that another day.
Not Locatelli. No, not Locatelli.
Not Locatelli. No, not
got
Locatelli.
More goals than De Bruyne.
Ronaldo's got more goals than Locatelli. So,
okay.
Yarmolenko, yeah, like some of the others, he hasn't done anything for me not to pick him, and he's quite good value. And then Wijnaldum, I think is almost a lock in that Dutch midfield, where I kind of you want some Dutch coverage in there. Then up front at the moment, I've got Belotti there, because if he starts, then I want him there. But if he doesn't start, I might probably change. If he's not on the starting lineup, then I'll probably change him to Yaremchuk from Ukraine. I've got Che Adams again. Let's have a gamble and roll the dice on him because
Lama will be proud.
Very, 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 as Ferguson says, very, very proud.
Yeah.
Very proud.
My mum's side of the family are Scottish, so there's part like she isn't Scottish, but her like parents were. So yeah, I've got a bit of allegiance to them. So let's back them in this last game to produce something. And then I've got Moreno, but I think I'm going to rethink him, and I might punt on Isaac instead, because like we've just said, and I think we've all probably all had Moreno in our in a draft somewhere along the line for match day 3.
After listening to Raul's review, definitely.
But we weren't expecting them to be so poor in and around the box, and
yeah,
I mean, he's looked the more dangerous out of him and Morata, but I'm not keen on him if he's playing out on the wing. If he was playing, if I was guaranteed that Morata wasn't starting and Moreno was starting in his place, I'd probably keep Moreno. But if Luis Enrique decides to play the same way with Moreno further out wide, then I don't like it. But we're not gonna get that information before deadline. There's no chance. So yeah, he'll be coming out.
Okay. Right. We've only got a couple of questions. Are you guys all right to stay on?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool. Right, Rob. Before we go to the questions, have you got any updates that you need to give?
No.
Have we got an update on the Rep League or anything that you want to talk about?
No,
Rob's first, or is that?
No.
He doesn't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, no. I mean, the scores at the moment, obviously, it doesn't include tonight's games from
it doesn't.
Rep
Okay,
competition.
we can talk about another team then.
They'll all get posted out tomorrow morning with the match day 2 scores.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing.
Rob's still beating me by about 2 points.
Our mini league, top of the mini league at the moment is Glede Likers on 148 points. Obviously, this is from last night. It doesn't include tonight's update. I am. If you look really carefully, you can see like a little line of purple, which is where I am in 11th. I'm joint 10th. So yeah, it is quite tight at the top there. There's a couple of names that I recognise, but lots that I don't. So at some point, if you're watching, you might need to make yourselves known if you do win the league.
Is that quite, Rob? Is that quite a decent score at the top there at 148 for this time of the like? This
I think anywhere
moment?
between 135 plus, I think is decent. I think that's top. I think that's the like top 10k out of 3.5 million is like 135 plus.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't know though because I've got 142 points. So
I
was at like I think I was at like 6.5k this morning. So I'd assume that 7 points is probably the difference between that and 10k.
So I've just checked mine now. I'm on 135 points and my rank is 17k.
153 gets you in the top 1,000 at the moment.
Are you on 153?
No, I just had to scroll down the top of the rep one, which is Wombat, the Turkish rep.
Yeah.
He's on 150, and that's 1,181st. I just had to scroll up from him. So 153 gets you the top 1,000.
The current leader of the mini league, I've just had a look, is Stephen Irish on 158 points. So he added another 13 onto his total, and I'm now joint 7th. So I should have waited and then done another screenshot. Anyway, let's get these questions done, and then we can tell people about Monday.
Just quickly, I saw an interesting thing that you posted earlier, Rob, that the current top goal scorer is in the competition is own goal.
Yeah, Mr. O goal. Yeah, with 5 goals. Yeah, he might be hotly. Someone has asked who could be the nice little potential 5 to 6 million addition into the Premier League. I think he could be a top asset going into next season.
Right, we've got a couple of questions there. Let's cover these. So Bungle the Gooner asks, any players that have caught your eye and could be Prem bound post Euros? Nice little potentials like 5 to 6 million Souček type assets for next season in FPL. Who wants to answer that?
I've got one.
Yep.
There's been rumoured within Italy for a while, and now he's gained a little bit more attention. Is actually Locatelli, who scored 2 last week. Supposedly there is a 40 million euro release fee, so that would be about low 30s, I would think, million pounds.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk in Italy, but I saw today that Man City might be having a look, and I think we've already seen his kind of goal scoring potential from a deeper position in a team like Man City. He could score a hat load in the midfield.
Anyone else?
Don't think so, really. The ones that I've got eyes on will probably be a lot dearer. Sancho, I was hoping to see quite a bit from a Man United perspective, but he's not exactly lit the tournament up, has he?
Apparently today, United made another offer of about 80 million. So I think
right. Yeah,
I think that deal will like within a week of the end of the week of the end of England's tournament. I think that deal will be done.
Yeah. But no, apart from that,
I think Alexander Isak. And he wouldn't be playing like a Souček type asset, but he probably wouldn't be priced much. He'd probably be around 7 million forward if he came to the Premier League. So he could be but I don't think it would happen. No, there's not been. It's as you get past the group stages and teams start exiting out of the tournament. That the rumours start really flying around because then these players, their agents, can start looking at talking at other clubs. But generally, the clubs that are interested in some of these players, they're going to kind of keep stum about it whilst the tournament's going on because they want to make sure this player doesn't go and get injured during the tournament. So I think over the course of the next week or so, we'll start to see the rumours start flying around as teams start exiting.
Saying that, Donnarumma's having his PSG medical Monday in the Italian training camp.
Yeah, but PSG have probably paid off a lot of money, and he's a free agent anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, but now they've got Keylor Navas and Donnarumma to be his understudy.
Wow.
Right.
It should be the other way round, I think.
Yeah, I hope it will be.
Dante in the chat asks, do you think travelling will affect Embolo and Shaqiri? James?
I don't. I think there's better returns at that price range anyway. As I said, I'm one that's looking to stay away from them. I definitely wouldn't be looking to go for the pair of them. So maybe take the punt on one, but as I've already said, for me, it's a game that I don't really see a lot of potential from anyway.
Okay. FPL Penguin asks, we need Lama. We need a Lama. Hot Euro fantasy pick for match day 3.
how am I pronouncing this again?
Lewandowski.
Lewandowski. Yeah, Lewandowski.
Him. That would be my fire pick for the next match.
Your fire pick. Right. Paolo says there is a 4 million Russian keeper who could play. Yeah, it's not a bad shout.
I had him this week.
Oh, nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Dante also asks thoughts on Rebic or Kramaric. Rob?
If I was going one or the other, I'd go Rebic. He's looked slightly more threatening.
I'd go Kramaric.
You're just here to say the opposite of anything I say.
I heard what isn't Rebic's goal scoring form for his nation 1 in about 27.
It is pretty horrendous.
Yeah,
so he's due.
Yeah,
that's
what I was going to say. This is his 27th game coming up.
Right, and then the final question, Paula says, Gosens, Gnabry, Havertz and Muller, which 3 would be your choice? James, I'll let you answer this one.
I would be looking to drop Thomas Muller from that 3. I think the other 3 are I'm going to say guaranteed starters. And I think Muller might be slightly older and might need a little bit of a rest before the rest of the tournament.
Okay, right, that's all the questions done. Thanks, boys. Rob, I'll let you do, as you love doing the wrap-up, you can do the wrap-up, mate.
Yeah, so what day are we next on? What day is it today? It's Saturday today.
Saturday,
so we're next on Monday evening. I'm just checking what time we're going to be on. So it'll be 10 o'clock after Finland, Belgium, and Russia, Denmark. And we're going to be joined by at FPL Dronic and at FPL Thomas from the Man On podcast. And we're going to be chatting about the game week so far, having a look at how Group A has finished up, and how Group B and Group C have finished up. And we'll probably have a quick look at how the knockout stages are starting to take shape. We'll obviously won't know too much, but we might be able to make some predictions on who will be playing each other in the round of 16. So yeah, we've got those 2 on. Come and join us. We'll probably start talking about potential round of 16 assets from the teams that are guaranteed, like that we've now found out that are going to be there.
Nice. Okay, James and Lama, thank you so much for joining. We really enjoyed it, and we both really appreciate you coming on. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Before we go, do you want to just remind people where they can find you? Lama, do you want to go first?
Can do. So it's Lama on. So it's the FPL game week. So if you're tweeting me or DMing me or anything like that, that's where you'll find me at the FPL game week. And the YouTube channel's the exact same, Sham. So no, thanks boys for inviting us. Much appreciated. Enjoyed myself.
Awesome. Just quickly, you have a Discord channel that you actively ask or encourage people to join for FPL as well, don't you?
We do. You've caught me off guard there because it's one of those. Do you know, like you can change your name and make it dead simple for people, but you can't with Discord for some.
Are your details on Twitter for that if people want to join?
Yeah, so they're in my bio on Twitter. So yeah, if anyone's wanting to join that, by all means, get involved in there. I know you boys are in there as well.
Yeah,
so.
we are.
Yeah, I occasionally pop my head in. I think we know that in the next, probably at some point this week, I expect on Monday morning there'll be price reveals starting to come out for FPL.
I can't even deal with it yet. I need at least a week off after
we're gonna be forced to. So I think by the end of by this time next week, there's going to be the whole community on tinkering mode, because I reckon price of bills will be Monday, game will come out Wednesday or Thursday.
Wow.
So yeah, it'd be. I think I'll probably get back involved on the Discord to start chatting to people and try and not take my head out of Euro Fantasy, but kind of start looking the other side of Euro Fantasy because
because we need to start planning for next year.
We don't get a summer holiday this season.
Yeah, no, we didn't. James, where can people find you and abuse you when Italy do crap and don't get the lineup wrong?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm sure it's in the link for tonight's episode. You'll find me as the most annoying Englishman when Italy eventually win the Euros and England get dumped out by Slovenia in Copenhagen and Gareth Southgate. Slovakia and Gareth Southgate ends up at Barnet next year as a manager because that's his level. Yeah, so except for that, thanks for having me, guys.
Nice, no problem. Thanks for joining in. Right.
Cheers.
Okay, so let's wrap up then. Thanks for listening, guys, and watching. Please like, sub, and retweet, and all that jazz, as I always say. And we'll catch you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.